Grandmama used to pray, oh Lord, please save them from the evil snares and all the dangers that entangle. Yea, though they walking through the valley of the shadows, just prepare and make them fit for every battle, because I know they bound to come, and I know they bound to fall, but in your bounty, Lord, preserve their beautiful. Right, we still survive and offer grandma's prayers, surrounded by the jungle and the lion's den. Tread light, cause these traps is inconspicuous. They hide right in plain sight, thinking we don't see them when they linger. Look right beneath the surface, then leave a trail of corpses. Crisis, prices, your life a disposable commodity, like living in a fantasy, conditioned to believe that the system even cares, whether selling CDs or walking or driving or reading. Look, they don't even need a reason, it's just you breathing and being black. When it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all, at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming bloody murder. City got me screaming. This gritty city got me on some. Look, get your hand up on my pocket. Distraction, so lazy they use the same tactics, like condom with some trinkets. Just don't let them get to thinking. That light bulb gets a blinking. You know niggas and ideas. Oh dear, my dear, you may not know me, but I know you very well. Foresight, they say hindsight is 2020. Well, tell me something, we gotta see that history is on repeat, and maybe it takes a beat and a melody to speak a little louder than the message in the clouds or the essence in the air. I swear, my God is just so clear that a system driven by fear can never give us nothing but more of the same things. Oh, when it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming. It's murder. Got me screaming, got me. This gritty city got me on song.
What's happening, good people? We are live and direct. This is RSTV, and we on Black Power Media. I want to shout out my sister, Sonny Patterson. Pretty fall that intro. Folks always asking me who did that intro, who's singing that piece, whatever. Sonny Patterson is the poet laureate of our generation. And if you don't know about Sonny Patterson, you need to tap in, because she's one of the most underrated, super spiritual freedom fighters. I'm going to say a freedom fighter, because oftentimes we get confused and we think that because someone is holding a note, they can't, do what they need to do. So, I want to definitely shout out my sister and my brother Trent, her husband as well. Today, I'm just going to jump right in it. Usually I give this long intro and I'm like, this is so-and-so and da-da-da-da-da. We just gonna hop right in there. I got my brother Cornel West in the building. Dr. West, how you doing?
Brother,
what's good?
One, it's always a blessing to see you. Setting eyes on you just adds years to my life, but I do want to zero in on Sister Sonny, man. Lord,
yes,
have mercy. She gets right at the core, the center, the essence of what the struggle, what the movement is all about, and she does it with such style and sophistication and syncopation. And I want the world to know about her genius and her talent. You saying Brother Trent is her companion partner?
That's right. That's my brother, her brother. We all been rolling together for about 20 plus years, and she's one of, when you talk about spirituality, because I know in the past we talked about the need for spirituality. She's the embodiment of spirituality. So definitely,
go in, because it's very important anytime before you start talking about politics, analysis, policy, that you really got to talk about the spirit and how the music and the spirit constitutes the wind at our back is constitutive and integral, not decorative and ornamental.
That's right. That's right. Look here, man. Hey, I thought I was an MC when you come along. You know what I'm saying? You make Rakim look like, he come with some third grade grammar. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I got lost with a few seconds, but it's all good. We here. Yeah, but we still got you. I see you. It looked like you're trying to figure out if we still here or not. We still on deck.
Yeah, they got a phone call here, because I'm on the phone on the move here in Texas, but
it's all good. It's all good. I appreciate you stopping through. So we just wanted to pilfer, a few minutes of your time today. We know you got a lot going on, but I wanted to.
Best to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, so how's things going? I mean, we know you announced that you were running for office probably about 10 months ago. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Close to it.
that's exactly right. And see, when I left the Green Party, we had 0 states. And then the rural party from Alaska came along. They got universal basic income. They lily white, looked like the National Hockey League rather than the National Basketball Association, but they put me on the ballot in Alaska. The next thing you know, I was put on the ballot in Oregon with the Progressive Party. Same thing, tied to abolition of poverty, abolition of unhousedness, the so-called homelessness, concerned about the militarism, anti-war to the core. Now, I'm anti-imperialist too, but we got overlap with them. And then we got put on in Utah. The next thing you know, of course, the Black Party, the United Citizens Party in South Carolina with the Nellums brother. They put me on. So I'm on there too. And interesting enough, that's the same party that Brother Clyburn was part of in 1969, 1970 when he was an insurgent, when he was oppositioner. We were fighting Jim Crow.
Right.
You see
now
what I
you're
mean?
pro Jim Crow. Right.
Got out of the system and say, oh, Lord, but they still fighting strong in South Carolina in the spirit of Marion Wright Edelman and Mary McLeod Bethune and Septima Clark, and we ain't even got the James Brown born in Barnwell, South Carolina yet. So that, and then this week we should be hearing about Colorado, man. I was just there at the convention, and they did vote for me 95%, but it hasn't been official. So you're the first one to kind of hear about it in public. But I'm not going to till it actually becomes public. Secretary of State got to sign it, but they voted 95% for the Unity Party in Colorado. So we on the move. We're going to have another 15, 20 states in a matter of months, my brother.
That's right on. Well, I appreciate that. Shout out to Colorado. My grandson had a birthday yesterday. He lives in Colorado. So shout out
Which city? Which city?
He's in Colorado Springs right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. They got that college, that famous. Yes, good God. God bless him, though, man.
Right on, right on, right on. So, and I'm glad you started off talking about, where you all are on the ballot at, because I think it's very important because, you have folks, you're going to have critics because that's the name of the game,
That's right.
Of course. Yeah. So, of course, you already know coming on RSTV, we got to deal with whatever criticisms that the people have and all Absolutely. That. So I wanted to ask because, when you started off, you announced that you were running with the People's Party, and then you moved over to the Green Party, and now you strong independent. What has that journey been like because of the fact that, you have some folks like, well, is he serious? Because, he's hopping parties and whatnot, like he on a round robin. So, what?
And I can understand that. I can understand that because it's true. It was the People's Party who came to me and Brother Chris Hedges as well. And I thought about it, prayed on it, pondered it, and said, I think I could be a force for good within this context because I'm going to be doing the same thing I've been doing all my life, or at least since 14 when Martin was shot down like a dog, and I gave my life over to trying to make the world safe for Martin Luther King Jr. based on his deep love for the people. And if I can in any way be similar in that way and always begin with the love for the people, however the people are suffering, however the people are being oppressed and subjugated and exploited, I'll tell that truth and be willing to work with anybody who has that same kind of love to create a better world. And so that's how I view this campaign, but that's how I view every move I make in my public life. You know what I mean? It's just based on what is the best thing in light of the truth telling and the justice seeking necessary in a world that's been so deeply shaped by vicious forms of capitalism, colonialism, imperialism, patriarchy, and so forth. And when I discovered that both People's Party and Green Party really could not be the context for me to flower and flourish in light of my calling, then I had to make a break. So I always pay homage to both of them in terms of the moment, but I also acknowledge what their limitations were, and I had to be free. I'll say it over and over again. If I'm a jazz man and they trying to put me in a military band, I'm going to flatten some notes and get fired. You know what I mean? I'm going to raise my voice. It just doesn't go with the grain. And so when you're an independent candidate, I am free. Now, we've had to form, as you know, the Justice for All Party, in part because there's certain states where if you have a party, it could be 5,000 signatures. If you don't have a party, it's 50,000 signatures. But it's also a matter of trying to leave some kind of institutional continuity after the campaign. And so we have a number of persons, both will join and also have candidates. So that all of that goes together. And you can imagine all this is on the run. You know, we creating this while we in the process of getting off the ground, so that it's it's like in jazz, you know, you got a first take, second take, third take. Now, when I was in the studio with Bootsy, we only did one take. I call it one take Bootsy. He called me one take West. So we only had one take, you see. But in politics, especially for me, not having done this before, I had a couple of takes. First, second, third, and now we on the move. No doubt about it.
Right on. Well, you know, that's a fair answer. I want to I know that less than a week ago you announced that you have a candidate on the Tavis Smiley radio show. You announced that you'll be bringing on Professor Melina Abdullah from Black Lives Matter LA. I wanted to know what prompted that decision, because right now it seems that all the candidates that are running, pretty much have a woman as a VP. What brought about the decision to bring on Melina?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring somebody on who I trust. Really, I want to bring somebody on who I could trust in the foxhole. And I wanted to bring somebody on who, as I said before, put a smile on Brother Martin and Sister Fanny's face, in terms of someone who's been willing to serve, sacrifice, go to jail, deal with threats, sometimes actual and physical, sometimes from vicious attacks on online and so forth. And over the years and over the decades that I've seen that in her work, I've seen that in her witness. Those who were on the short list just didn't come close. And I wanted to have somebody who would be able to follow through in such a way that they'd be able to speak their mind, speak the truth, be themselves, but always lead with the love of the people. Always lead with the love of the people. And there's no doubt in my mind that my dear sister Melina, she meets that test, and she's meeting that test. And it did surprise a lot of folk, because they think, well, you ought to choose somebody who helped your electoral strategy, and you ought to choose somebody from another region. Well, you see, I don't proceed like that. I start with principle and integrity and then move to strategy and tactics. I don't start with strategy and tactics and then view principles and integrity as an afterthought. And they said, well, that's not real politics. Well, that's not your real politics. See, I'm a different kind of politician. I want a free who is deeply committed, who's got wounds and bruises and scars from the movement, owing to their love and service of the people, and then raise their voices along with mine. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's been now a beautiful thing, and it's going to be a beautiful thing all the way up to November and thereafter.
Okay. So, of course, and I definitely appreciate the answer. And you mentioned integrity, so on and so forth. And I want to say that before we go any further, I reached out to Melina Abdullah about coming on as well. So we had some time differences. So, we do plan on bringing her on as well. I wanted to bring you on together.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I want to ask, because there's been heavy scrutiny around Black Lives Matter. This isn't a foreign question.
That's right.
The millions of dollars that have gone through Black Lives Matter, her being in a position of leadership with that particular organization, and also, playing crackers advocate. I'm gonna just say, you have this pro-Palestinian Muslim woman, and it's just all kinds of things right now that will have the right wingers and the black left in a frenzy. So do you feel that, with all of these quote unquote contradictions, and again, I will have Melina on the show to answer for herself, but you choosing her as a running mate, do you feel these contradictions will hinder success or progress within the campaign?
I think that any historical moment of a movement always has not just its challenges, but it's what you'd call contradictions, which is to say that there's no way that she and I can proceed without having a whole host of critics and foes and enemies, many of whom are lying, many of whom are misunderstanding and misconstruing. I believe in her integrity. I believe in her sincerity. I believe in her authenticity. I know she's human just like I'm human. There's no doubt about that. But I just wanted the world to know that one, this is a campaign that is fundamentally committed to the Black freedom movement, to poor people's movement, to working people's movement, and to colonized people's movement around the world. And when you look at my dear sister's record and her practice, you see that at work. Now it's true with Black Lives Matter. As she tried to sue the folk who allegedly were ripping off the movement, and we've seen this happen over and over again. You get the commodification of the movement, the corporatization of the movement, the greed sets in. You forget about the people suffering, and you think about your own living conveniently. She's the one that tried to make those particular peoples accountable, and she paid a major price for that. So the deep distinction between the Black Lives Matter movement that's on the ground and the Black Lives Matter movement that went national and international and went professional and ended up getting commodified and so on. So you're always going to have that at work. That's true for any movement. That's true for any moment of a movement. But in terms of the Palestinian people, you should have got somebody who's less strident in terms of the Palestinian. Oh Lord, have mercy! It could be AFRICOM in Africa. It could be the corporations in Latin America. It could be the police shooting down our brothers and sisters in the Black Hood, or it can be Palestinians who are undergoing genocide now, ethnic cleansing and living under apartheid-like conditions in Gaza. No, we want a voice that is strong on that. Sister Melina has been and is very strong on that, let alone patriarchy, And it's also true, you're right, that she's my Muslim sister. And you got all the anti-Muslim sentiments and sensibilities out there. And we hit that head on. In the name of Malcolm X, in the name of Muhammad Ali, in the name of Naima Coltrane, in the name of Yusuf Lateef, all the various figures who are part and parcel of our movement, past and present.
Right on, right on. Speaking of that, you mentioned Palestine. I know that the mainstream media has been in an uproar. They tried to get you all to denounce Hamas and to more or less side with Israel. And it's an uphill battle when you publicly say that you're against the genocide in Palestine. Can you speak to that? I would like you to give us your take on what's going on. Is it genocide? And what is your stance right now? Because as someone who's talking about running for president of these United States, a settler colonial state which backs and empowers another settler colonial state, what is your take on this whole conundrum?
Yeah, and here again, it becomes very difficult to keep track of the juxtaposition running to be head of the American empire in order to dismantle the American empire. And so what does it mean to have an anti-imperialist running to be head of an empire and then attempt to completely call into question its military units, its support of other settler colonial experiments around the world, its connection to corporate elites all around the world, its attempts to reshape the whole globe in light of the interests and the image of the American empire? That's been the history of all empires, certainly the history of the American empire. Going back to 1945, when the age of Europe collapsed with the concentration camps, and then the European colonial regimes began to collapse with decolonization setting in. And so part of what this campaign is about, when I say it's about truth, justice, and love, so you got to tell the truth about the U.S. empire. You're talking about indigenous peoples being attacked in a genocidal way. You're talking about crimes against humanity in terms of enslavement of our own brothers and sisters and grandmothers and grandfathers and ancestors and so on. You're talking about workers being subordinated, women being degraded and so forth. And so for me, it's just a matter of being true to the best of the country. And the best of America has been the Black freedom struggle, which is called into question the American imperialism, colonialism, and capitalism and patriarchy, though, brother. And so, in that sense, it's just being true to Ella Baker. What does that mean to be true to Ella Baker? I could never come close to meeting her standard, but I know what the standards are. Puerto Rican independence, where she ended so much of her life, right? With Lolita Lebron and so forth. That global analysis with local praxis that raises voices in such a way that people both can learn and be taught, straighten their backs up, become part of organized efforts to actuate the truth told. And that's what justice really is. And Sister Melina, I think, resonates very, very deeply with that as well.
So with what you're saying, okay, for the first time in our time, in our history, you're a couple minutes older than me, so you've been around a few more minutes before me. I want to ask,
I'm no spring chicken, brother. I ain't a spring chicken. You ready?
I already know you was grown when I was coming up. I'm like, okay, I remember you and Daruba and Sister Soldier and everybody on Donahue back in the day. So
yeah, that's like 1991 or so with Buster Suarez. We were at his church. You remember?
Yeah. So that.
But I love Brother Daruba, though, man. He set a high standard. Was it 19 years he was in captivity?
Yes, the second time it was 19 years, indeed. Yeah,
so, man, and of course, Soldier just went on to become an artist on the page as well as in the studio, man. Good God Almighty.
That's always a great thing. I want to ask, for the first time outside of us being African here in the United States, we're witnessing another form of real live, minute by minute genocide.
That's right.
And I don't know, there's no, as my brother Chairman Fred Jr. would say, there's no soft terms for brutal realities, right? The United States response, how would you rate that? And what is the where do you see this whole thing going? Because it's a lot happening daily, and it's like we're living in a movie right now. A bad horror flick. I want to ask one, how would you rate the US's response? That's number one, but also for folks who, because you have Africans in America that are like, well, why should we be concerned with what's going on over there? I can't pay my rent. I can't pay the light bill over here. The police just killed my son. This is going on, so on and so forth. What would you say to, these particular folks? Because these are potential voters that can come your way. How would you respond to these questions?
Well, one is that I would never fall into the trap of trying to be short term to get a vote rather than authentic and telling the truth about the situation and how the system, we're talking about a capitalist system, we're talking about an imperial system operates. The truth can't be trumped just for short term perspective, you see. The kind of thing that yourself and George James and so many others of your generation building on the best of our movement is to say over and over again, we have a moral and spiritual commitment to the empowerment of those friends for known called the wretched on the earth, and that's in Chicago as well as Lagos. That's in Harlem as well as Gaza. That's in every part of the world. You see, it could be in Korea, it could be in Iran itself that has its own forms of repression and domination. It can be in Russia that has its own forms of domination. But we can still be truth tellers and still be anti-imperialists, especially as we zero in on the American empire. I think we have to just acknowledge that this is a Malcolm X moment, brother. Chickens are coming home to roost. the ripping off the veil. All the talk about American freedom abroad, and we see American criminality, we see American mendacity, we see American immorality. Genocide is the lowest litmus test you could have for morality. If you are enabling genocide and know that you're doing that, you have no claim whatsoever to any moral authority. It's just raw power. And that's what Malcolm was talking about. And all of a sudden you see it. Of course, Cat Williams talked about this being the year of truth, right? You're going to rip all of the covers off and see what's really there. And when you see what's really there, those 16,000 precious children, Palestinian children being killed, and they can't say a mumbling word, but you get a few internationalists who are working in the kitchen. When they get killed, all of a sudden it's the end of the world. Oh my God, my heart is so broken. I'm just outraged. I can't believe it. Well, yes, you ought to be outraged when anybody gets killed. I believe every human life has the same value. But you notice that Biden and company, they only get upset when it's the world kitchen folk. They don't get upset. Sure. Palestinian children. They don't get upset when it's the innocent Palestinian women. They don't get upset about the 30-some thousand and the other 5 or 10,000 in the rubble. It just shows you got pure white supremacist evaluation where a Palestinian life does not have the same value as a European life or a white life or Israeli life or a Jewish life. But see, I ain't gonna put up with that. I learned in Shiloh Baptist Church, brother. Jesus loves everybody the same way. People say, oh, Brother West, why are you bringing all that Christianity, all that God-talking Jesus that ain't got no role in politics? Not for this, brother. I bring my whole self into politics. And my whole self includes Irene, Clifton, mom and dad, my family, Shiloh, Black Panther Party, Martin Luther King Jr., Fannie Lou Hamer, Rabbi Heschel, Edward Zayed. That's all inside of me. That's like asking a jazz musician to come to the club and leave himself outside. How you gonna play the horn if you leave yourself outside? You're going
right on.
He'll sound like Pat Boone if he can't bring his whole self inside. Pat Boone sell 50 million records. He'd be living like a king somewhere. He say, no, I'm bringing the genius from the west side of Chicago and listen to this. I'm so glad I got my own. So glad that I can see my life as a natural high. The man can't put no thing on me. I'm a free black man. That's my man. That's my brother. That's Curtis. I want to be like Curtis.
I remember you saying that Prince couldn't hold Curtis's catalog.
Then he went into the studio and made a Curtis Mayfield record, right?
Right on.
Didn't he sound good? But he still wasn't Curtis. I thought I still wasn't. But of course Curtis wasn't Prince either. So it goes both ways,
No doubt. Today marks the 1 year commemoration of the Sudan quote unquote civil war, right? And we know that it's been thousands of people have lost their lives in the Sudan. Millions have lost their lives in the Congo. We see what's going on in Haiti right now.
That's right.
Why is it that when we talk about these African locales, that it seems like folks know nothing about it? People don't know it's a war in the Sudan. They don't know what's been going on in the Congo. They don't know what's happening in Haiti outside of mainstream media. Why do you think that is, and what would you bring to the table if you have the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, if the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak, it's got to be everybody's suffering. It just can't be the suffering in certain parts of the world, the suffering folk who got certain kind of skin pigmentation or a certain kind of class position. It is very difficult in the American empire because it's so huge and because the propaganda machines are so thick that it's hard to keep folk just educated about what is going on. You got to be so intentional. You think about yourself, all the reading that you do outside of the mainstream just in order to keep up on some of the truth telling that's going on in Haiti. And of course, it relates to the history as well as the present. How did Haiti end up paying reparations to France?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's how the slaveholders got reparations from the U.S. government when they, quote unquote, freed African slaves in Washington, D.C. It was the slaveholders that got reparations. What's the same? You can see how twisted how sick they
Right.
see what I mean?
Right.
But you have to
Right.
be intentional in order to get at that kind of knowledge, because it's hard to get in the not just mainstream media, but mainstream education. Mainstream education, though, brother. And that's why it's very important to always be connected to different communities and networks of people who are interested in that kind of truth telling. And this campaign tries to be part of that wave in the ocean, part of those networks of people who are telling the truth, like yourself and others, Brother Jared. I mean, you got a whole wave of folk, in media trying to do this kind of thing. It was no accident that I chose Brother Tavis to make the announcement with Sister Melina, because black press for me and black media for me always gets overlooked, it seems. And so I just wanted to make sure, okay, if people are interested in what I got to say, it's going to be a moment, then I'm going with Tavis or Tim Black, or somebody who has been out there for a long time trying to do the best that they can, concerned about the chocolate side of town, not anti-vanilla, but just starting on the chocolate side and then embrace vanilla when it's time to embrace.
Right on, right on. We appreciate you embracing vanilla when it's time to embrace. But, but speaking of embracing vanilla, two of your adversaries, we have Trump and Biden. You have Trump saying that he was down here in Atlanta very recently in a Chick-fil-A, taking pictures with black folks. Unfortunately, the Atlanta black folks losing their mind. They happy to take pictures with him, so on and so forth. And one of the things he talked about was how he's done more for black people than any other president, maybe even Abe Lincoln. And then you have Biden, who decides to speak at your man, formerly Fat Al, the wire-wearing brother from National Action Network. That's me talking. Don't worry about it. They decided to speak at National Action Network, and Biden says, well, to a great extent, he put more women in the federal court. I'm mixing it up, but put more federal court judges into position than any other president, than all the other presidents combined. We had Hillary talking about her hot sauce. Why is it that when, as Imam Jamil would say, folks are black by popular demand, but when it ain't popular with the man, it ain't black no more. You have these white quote unquote presidents, and and talking about how much they've done for black people. Why is that? And what do you feel that means to us? Because I think that a lot of our people are absolutely confused, and they think that because they get a handout, a stimulus check, or whatever the case is, some extra coins, put in the jukebox, that these folks actually are concerned about our well-being. What do you think that means to Black America? What these traditionally white races have talked about, being their contribution to our people.
No, you raising so many crucial questions, though, brother. I mean, one is that precious black folk, precious poor and working people, we so beaten down. We've been lied to so much. We've been manipulated in so many different ways. Don't know who to trust. Don't know what to believe. And then at the same time, we find ourselves in a situation where most of our genuine leaders, which is to say those who love people and serve people, are either assassinated or incarcerated. So that the choice that you have is just so narrow and so milquetoast, because so many of the folk who can actually provide a grand vision and willing to sacrifice and take the hits for it have already been lied on, rebuked, scorned, or killed, or taken to prison. And so we don't have too many leaders left who have grand vision and courage, though, brother. They just out there with transaction. They're not out there for deep transformation. They're just out there for a certain status and a certain position. They're not really out there for deep service and profound sacrifice, you see. And this is true across the Black community. It's true across the community for poor people. And I would even say that it's too often the case even in the trade union movement. As much as I'm pro trade union, the trade union leaders too often too readily accommodate themselves to a system that's crushing the workers and act as if they're on the cutting edge of the workers movement, right? And so we just have to be honest about that and then work with what we got. We got to work with what we got.
Right on, right on. Your platform, very important. You and Melina, you have a man. You running like Forrest right now. You know what I'm saying? Like Forrest Gump. You got to run.
That's
Because
true. That's
yeah, you trying to get on the ballot. But I know you have a serious platform. You talk about policy pillars for a movement rooted in truth, justice, and love. I want to talk about some of your platform. What does that mean? I know you talk about economic justice. You talk about workers' justice, environmental justice, health justice, racial justice, transformative justice, education justice, and so on and so forth. In a nutshell, what could the people expect from you? What does this mean? This platform that you're running on, because it's a serious platform. To the average Joe, it sounds great. It sounds grand. And really, to be honest with you, if we were looking at some of these other candidates from the Democratic Republican Party, or whatever Kennedy's doing, I don't know what the hell he's doing. It's a different platform, and it's a platform that sounds enticing. How do you plan to carry out such a platform, and give us some examples of some of the key points that you feel that that could be game changers when it comes to African, poor, working class, etc. Colonized. What is that? What does this platform mean to the people?
I hear you, because I mean it's fundamentally an abolitionist platform because it comes out of the best of the Black freedom movement that's always had the abolition of slavery, the abolition of Jim and Jane Crow, the abolition of poverty, the abolition of gentrification, in which you have land grabs and power grabs, the abolition of the blindness about the American past. That's why reparations is so very, very important. People say, well, you raise the issue of reparations, you're dividing everybody, you're never going to win an election because of reparations. No, we're talking about truth. We got to know the truth of the past. We're talking about the repair of the damage. And we want the abolition of the sense of slavery and Jim Crow and subsequent forms of degradation and discrimination playing a fundamental role in how the system developed. And so abolition is something that is a lens. I want the abolition of police brutality. I want the abolition of police murder. I want the abolition of vast wealth inequality. When 3 individuals have wealth equivalent to half the nation, 160 million people, we need a redistribution of wealth downward. We got the abolition of redistribution of wealth upward that's been taking place for the last 50 years. So that abolition allows one to see both the limits of reform, but also know that reform can be a catalyst toward the fundamental transformation. Because revolution is fundamentally about the sharing of power, the sharing of resources, even the sharing of dignity. That's what revolution really is. And that has been a fundamental orientation of the tradition that produced me. I am a revolutionary Christian. I'm a Jesus-loving, free Black man. And I bring my whole self into that process, mind with analysis, historical, sociological, soul with the music, the culture, the families, the people, the churches, the mosques, the synagogues, the temples, the nightclubs. I'm that kind of Baptist, but we won't get into that right now. But then there's spirit, which has to do with the connection to the continent and the ways in which our bodies stylize space and time, inseparable from our souls, inseparable from our minds, so that we become, in the language of John Coltrane, a force for good.
Right on. I want to ask you, because you spoke about reform, right? So I remember coming up, I might have been like 14 years old. And I told my father, I said, man, I'm going to join the NAACP because I'm going to change it around. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make it a revolutionary organization. It's going to be like Robert Williams, so on and so forth. And I gave this long spiel. I would always go to him with these ideas, thinking that, I'm ahead of the time and whatnot. And he's sitting there eating some chicken with the hottest hot sauce he could possibly eat it on with. And I said, man, so I give my spiel for about 30 minutes. He's sitting there listening. He cool as a cucumber. And I said, so what you think about it? He said, well, when building's on fire and 13 floors are burning, you don't try to get a bucket to douse the flames. You're trying to get the hell out the building if it's only 14 floors, right?
Ooh,
so I ask you, can we reform white supremacy? Because we're in, as Malcolm talked about, a burning house, right? And I believe Martin alluded to that as well. Yeah. We're in this burning house, and here it is. Dr. Cornel West, he got his super soaker out here. He like, listen, I'm about to douse the flames. We're gonna make it happen. And your rap game is on point. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, all right. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what Doc gonna do.
Yeah.
But the question is, can we truly reform white supremacy? And I'm asking you this question publicly because as one of the other OGs would say, you can't reform shit. You can make it square, you can make it circle, you can call it feces, you can call it cocky or doodoo, or whatever you want to. It's still gonna be the same old shit. So I'm asking you, brother, and forgive my Kalonji.
No, but indeed, no, you asking out of deep love to it, not this love for the people, love for our possibilities of trying to get out of all of this mess. And I hear exactly what you're saying. Now, just one brief historical note. You remember when Ben Chavis took over the NAACP and said he was going to revolutionize it, and they had that meeting in Baltimore, and he brought Hakeem Mahebute, he brought Maulana Karanga, he brought Minister Louis Farrakhan. I was there. We had some serious folk from the trade union movement and leftists. In those days, Brother Ben was a serious progressive. I know he's working with the no labor.
I like how you said those days. Go ahead.
I was surprised to see it with no labor. I didn't know that he'd undergone that kind of change. But because he's a student of mine at Union, I love the brother. We fought like
I just saw him in Selma, and he was shaking everybody's hand, and then he came to me and he looked like like he was confused, like what is this brother doing? But it was all good,
I mean, we fought to get him out of jail, man, down in North Carolina. But that was years ago. But the thing is that he was unable to revolutionize NAACP. Now, NAACP was founded as a counterterrorist movement when they killed all those black folk in Springfield, Illinois. It was just a massacre. And they responded to the American terrorism coming at black folk. And they had to create a counterterrorist institution. But they decided to do it in a reformist way. So it goes back to your question. And I remember when we had the dialogue with Brother Tavis Smiley, when Minister Louis Farrakhan had talked about a burning house. Actually, Belafonte raised that question. He said Martin Luther King told him, Harry, looks like we're integrating into a burning house. We either become firemen, how did he put it? We either become firemen to put it out or something else. And we had a wonderful dialogue with Minister Louis Farrakhan, myself, and Belafonte and others. And one of my points was, we got our precious children in there who's burning. How do we get the children? How do we get our friends, our mamas, our grandmamas, and others out? How do we tell the truth about what's gone into the burning, and also recognize they got one life to live, and somehow we got to get them out? And see, that's the tightrope that we have to walk, though, brother. We have to be able to tell the truth about the burning and what's gone into the history such that it's burning. And now it's going to be burning even more. That's what I was talking about with the Malcolm X moment, right? See, when chickens come home to roost, man, all the stuff you've been lying about, all the hiding of the crimes you've been talking about, the blowback hits. And when the blowback hits, it ain't nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to run, right? So in this situation, what do we do with our loved ones? What do we do with folks who are innocent and vulnerable, and They're already being crushed by the system, but as the system continues to collapse and implode, and it's there, I think, is the truth telling on the one hand, is to try to shield and rescue and comfort and touch and hug as many as you can, but never lose sight of a vision for a new world, though, brother. So you don't want the burning to have the last word, just like you don't want the catastrophe to have the last word, man. We're blues people. So we on intimate terms with catastrophe, but we got to have the last word, even if it's just a note, even if it's just a sound or a moan or a groan or a joke with a Mom's Mabley and a Godfrey Cambridge and a Dick Gregory. We got to have the last word and then plant the seeds for a new world. You see, that for me is the best that I can do in the short life that I have in space and time, and what it means to really be true to a great people. Because, brother, you know, you and I, man, we come from a great folk, man. Good God.
Yeah,
I
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
have,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I got to say this, man, because I think that, the thing is, one thing about people, they'll love you one day, they'll hate you the next day. They might love you again, and then they hate you again, whatever the case is, right? I don't think that there's anyone that can deny your love for the people, right? I think that, as Malcolm would say, time will tell, right? There's been decades of work, and it's evident, and we don't all have to agree with each other. You know what I'm saying? We don't even have to all understand each other. The one thing that I talk about all the time is we don't necessarily have to be on the same page, but we damn sure got to be in the same book.
Ooh, I like that.
So I want, I want to ask, going back to our homeboy Donnie Simpson back in the day when he would end his joint, and we got about a good 13 minutes left, so I don't want to override my time with you. But one of the things Donnie used to talk about when he was closing out, he would say, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll still be amongst the stars. Right? We know that you're running for president. I'm not going to dare say, it's impossible, because of the fact that I come from a place that would be deemed impossible for me to be sitting here right now talking to you. That's where I'm from. I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I always say that because of the fact that, for some people, like, he always shouting out this, whatever, because I come from pissy project hallways. I come from a place where some of my friends OD'd before they made it to adolescence. I come from a place that where blood splatters on the wall, it was commonplace, dope, crack, AIDS, all that type of stuff. That's where I come from. So I have a certain degree, a certain attitude, and a certain level that I roll with, not because I want to be cocky, not because I think I'm tough, because I don't forget my roots.
That's
what I'm saying? When Pac talk about the roads that grew from concrete, I understand that. I want to ask you, in running for office, what's plan B? Because, in my mind, I'm seeing, and I could be wrong, but I'm coming from an organizer's perspective. I see a great opportunity for organization. So I wanted to, I don't know if you're ready to answer that question, but I'm going to throw that question out there because I think that it's important, because, some folks get confused and they say, well, man, you up against this and you up against that, you ain't going to win, so on and so forth. It's a waste of time. I hate to talk about plan B because of the fact that I come from a place where, we winning. Yeah. And it's like, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. I said, man, I don't gamble, because back in the day, either I was going to win or I was going to win. So you should hope that I win. You understand what I'm saying? You want to do this, I'm going to win. Because I can't afford to lose. So I'm asking you, what's in the event that you're not President Cornel West, where do we go from here? Because I don't believe you never struck me as a man that came to waste all people's time.
No, I hear you. Brother, I appreciate those those deep and generous words, as well as your personal testimony, because I think we've always had to deal with the sense of being a people with Pharaoh on both sides of the bloody Red Seas on the one, and yet Curtis Mayfield reminding us that we're a winner on the other. Now, how you winner with Pharaoh on both sides of the bloody Red Sea? Well, Shirley Caesar used to say, we step out on nothing and land on something, that we have a way out of no way, that when the bars of the jail cell or the bars on the musical page become prison-like, somehow we got to flatten the notes, redesign the sound so that we can have a sense of freedom behind those bars. Well, that's who we are at our best, brother. That's part of the greatness of Black people. And so for me, the question is always being open to the degree to which any historical moment is incomplete, unfinished, in process, fluid, and fluctuating. So that by November, we have a whole new historical moment, a new historical conjuncture, to use the language of Antonio Gramsci, and new organizational possibilities. Because organizational capacity, as you know, Brother Stokely and Brother Kwame, both names, he always said, organize, organize, organize. Margaret Garvey used to say over and over again, our major challenge is we too disorganized. So what are the organizational capacities, given the fact that we're in a moment where things are shifting, man? They changing so quick every day. With war, you remember what Du Bois said in June 1945 when he left San Francisco? He said, in The Winds of Time, he wrote it for Chicago Defender. He said, I see a world in which there's World War III when America tries to suppress China, has a stranglehold on Russia. That's 1945. That's Du Bois. Now, I'm not, he's right all the time. But when you loving the people enough to tell them the truth, to try to keep track of what they got to come to terms with over time, sometimes you're going to hit the bullseye, man.
79 years ago, we said.
Exactly. Yeah. For me, the question is, okay, as you're absolutely right, as I go through this process, I've got to be mindful and attuned to each new development, because things are changing so quick, nationally, internationally, locally, regionally, and so forth. And as soon as the election is over, you jump right into the solidarity activity. You jump right into the new waves of the movement, and you stay until the worms get your body, and you go with a smile and say, I was glad to be alive this long and still swing, based on the love for the people and based on the service to the people.
It's heavy right there, Cornell. You know what I'm saying? Because that right there, that means that, you are giving your life, you're giving your whole, you're giving your spirit, you're giving your soul. And I don't think people understand that particular aspect. I think when you're talking about this is because it goes beyond what an individual thinks or feels.
That's right.
You're going by spirit. And spirit has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with being personal. Spirit is a situation. It is a part of, your divine self. It is a part of who you are, and no one can understand or quite even imagine what that means to come from your spirit, because your spirit is unique to you. And as long as, again, your spirit is in alignment with the universe, it's in alignment with the universe and with humanity and with care and concern, then that trumps whatever an individual has to think. Not even say.
That's
but
true.
Even if you thought it don't even matter. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, regardless of what you think about me, what have you done to add to our liberation? And if the question is nothing, the answer is nothing, or if the answer is just, I critique what everyone else is doing, then it really don't mean a damn thing at the end of the day. I want to ask you a couple more questions, brother, and I'm going to let you go because I know you got business to take care of.
Oh, brother, you taking us to some deep, deep, deep waters here, though, man. It's a deep sea diving and a beautiful. I know you do this every show, though, brother, but it's a beautiful. Man.
Yeah, man. Listen, it is. I try to, with the guest, I try to connect with the guests. You know what I'm saying? And I'm clear because, you know, again, I'm an organizer. So the thing is, we don't have to agree on everything. I've never met a man, woman, or child on this planet, including my mother, my children, my grandchildren, whoever, that I absolutely totally agree with 100% because of the fact that I'm a free thinker.
That's right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I don't get caught up in no, you know, well, I can't mess with you because you believe this. Or I can't mess with you because at the end of the day, are we in the same book? You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not expecting Cornell to be a gorilla. I'm not expecting you to crawl through the fields. I'm not expecting you to pick up the AK unless it's necessary. Now, if there comes a time and you know that you got to hold it down, then look, tie your head back. Let's get busy.
That's true, though, brother. Based on the love.
Right on, right on.
Crush my people. You're trying to crush my loved one. You're trying to crush people whose dignity and sanctity deserves affirmation rather than crushing. You're absolutely right, my brother.
And it changed the whole being. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, yeah, because if you're tested in the right space in the right time, then all this other go out the window.
That's
you know? Like, hold on, brother Cornell. I didn't know you cuss like that. I didn't know you swing like that.
Oh, you that's real, my brother. Good.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm still a black man.
Indeed.
You know, you was down here in Atlanta. You on the scene for the whole Cop City situation. I want to know your thoughts on what Cop City is, because right now, of course, there's close to 1,000 military bases around the world. There's been said that there are cop cities in 47 states around the U.S. I want to know, what does Cop City mean to Black folks in America, and you know, because we're not buying that it's just a situation where, you know, they're here to protect and serve. We're talking about building up these compounds, which, you know, to me are paramilitary bases. I wanted to know your thoughts on that, and what must be done to halt these particular situations.
Yeah. You know, my brother, when you think of the ways in which predatory capitalism, on the one hand, privatizes, on the other hand, militarizes any response to a social situation. And so it takes out any possibility of the public. I go to high schools more and more. I see more police and I see nurses and counselors. That's the militarization at work in education, let alone what's on the curriculum. Same is true in Gaza. Same would be true at AFRICOM on the continent. You militarize externally, you militarize internally, and then also people militarize in terms of their psyches. Anytime they have a sense of conflict, they figure they got to dominate and engage in conquest. That's part of the patriarchal order that we have to come to terms with. We got to subordinate people or crush them. Same is true with the planet, with the fossil fuel greed running out of control and the possibility of the whole planet going under. So we have to be able to make these connections in terms of militarizing, commodifying, and of course, so much of my policy is about demilitarize, decommodify. What does that mean? Take the military out of it, take the money out of it, take the profit out of it, and put people's dignity and people's needs and people's humanity at the center of a vision, let alone of a policy. And so, of course, when we were together, and you were so kind to be there, though, brother, we had a nice time at the event that we had there. I was there with our dear Sister Jones, Sister Reverend Kiana Jones, and the American Fields Committee, the Quaker brothers and sisters there marching, but also making this connection with what's going on in Atlanta, ways in which something like that had already taken place in Miami vis-a-vis police departments all through Latin America, the ways in which the Cop City is also tied to the military forces in Israel. And we've seen that before also, because back in the 80s when we were struggling against South African apartheid, there was connection between Israeli military and Ghana apartheid regime. So we have to keep track, tell the truth, and then, as you know, put our bodies on the line in that regard. But our vision is always one that has people's self-determination, people's self-respect, people's self-defense at the center of it. And that's what it means to demilitarize and de-commodify. When Sister Melina and others get in trouble talking about defunding the police, you know, what they're talking about is they want the massive, massive shift of investment from the militarizing that take place when the police departments on chocolate sides of town, which is to repress and contain, and on the rich vanilla sides of town, that is to protect and serve. That's the class position, and that's the class function. And so when you want to defund, you say, no, we want the resources to go into dealing with quality education, a right to housing, a right to health care, safe communities, community control over those communities. Charles Barron and Inez Barron make this point out of Operation Power. They were the first ones to endorse us, you know, many organizations.
Right on.
Other than
right on.
I started the whole campaign, and you know, Mississippi, I believe Mississippi is ground zero of our struggle as a people, given the Delta, Mississippi, site of the creation of the blues. And so I wanted the endorsement of the Mississippi Democratic Freedom Party, which we received Conrad and them in Mississippi. I knew something was happening when I got that.
That's right.
Oh, brother, I get the spirit of Robert Johnson and Bessie Smith in them. I say, shoot.
And you ain't go Robert Johnson, did you? You went all the way to the devil at the crossroad. You went
that hellhound.
What's that? 1925. That's 100 years ago coming up. What's that? 1925, 1926.
Well, the song "Hellhound on My Trail" is 1937, but he started in the 20s. You're absolutely right. That genius. Right. We ain't got language for that, brother. But again, freedom fighter in his own distinctive way.
Right on. Man, last question. Next week, April 24th, is the birthday of our brother Mumia Abu Jamal. We're scheduled to be in Philadelphia. I know brother Mark Lamont Hill, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., Johanna Fernandez, Pam Africa, myself. I think I saw you on the bill as well.
Yeah, I did a video because I'll be at 3 events that day, but I did a video that I've already done to Julia Wright, you know, the wonderful daughter of the one.
Without a doubt. Mama Julia, yes.
You know, I'll be there in spirit.
Right on. And we know you've been fighting for Mumia, folks like Imam Jamil Alameen, H. Rap Brown, Leonard Peltier, whose attorney we'll have on the show later on today. I want to ask about the importance of supporting Mumia Abu Jamal, Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly H. Rap Brown, Leonard Peltier, and so many other freedom fighters, Veronza Bowers, who should have been released 20 years ago. He maxed out on his time, and he was on his way out. And the Department of Justice Attorney General made a phone call as he was going through the gates and said, "Hold that man." And he's been held 20 years beyond his time. You know, why is it so important, or why is it important to fight on behalf of our freedom fighters who are quote unquote political prisoners? We know that oftentimes that's not in the discussion. You know, people talk about the martyrs. They talk about those who have gone on to glory, for lack of better words. But when it comes to our political prisoners, for me, you can't have an intelligent conversation around reparations if you're not talking about getting your troops back. So I wanted some feedback from you on that.
No, that's very true, though, brother. You speak with such tremendous power and eloquence about that, though, man, because I was just with Brother Silent Bear, who wrote that song Freedom Road for Brother Leonard in Denver just 2 days ago. And we were talking about Mumia, and we're talking about our dear brother there, Emil Abdul, and so many others. I mean, like you say, there are others there. You can't talk about a freedom movement, let alone a Black freedom movement, without acknowledging the unbelievable price they were willing to pay and the cost they were willing to bear, the risk they were willing to take. And I mentioned before about so many of the real love warriors either being assassinated or incarcerated. You see, that COINTELPRO, the FBI, they knew what they were doing. They zeroed in on the ones they thought was for real. Fred Hampton, on you see. Which is not to say that the ones who didn't get shot or incarcerated were not for real. It was just that it was a matter of trying to accent some of the very, very best. Put the bullets
Right.
very, very best. Put them in the cells at the very, very. And Mumia for me represents one of those love warriors and freedom fighters, and also a great intellectual. All of them not great intellectuals like Mumia. You know what I mean? Who never ever dampened his spirit. That his voice is strong as ever, and even as he's struggling, it's still clear that his fire is still intense. One cannot be but elated and uplifted by that level of commitment and dedication and unbelievable love that he has for the people, man. It's just it's like Mandela in South Africa, 20-some years, man. He'd been in there longer than Mandela, and would have done something different if he got out. Let me ask.
Yeah, definitely did something different. I mean, you know, we
Something different. So yeah, we lift him up. He's 70 years old. I'm 72. I say, my brother, I love you, love you, love you. Welcome to the 70 Club. And when I went to see him with James Cone and Brother Chris Hedges, and he and I started singing Curtis Mayfield together and harmonizing and things, man, one of the great moments of my life, and I think of all of our lives, because in the midst of this vicious system coming at us, we still had a joy, though, brother.
right on. Man, Dr. West, I appreciate you coming on. You know, it was last minute. I hit you up a couple of days ago and you agreed to come on. I appreciate you keeping your word and always being solid. We're gonna win in spite of ourselves, as Imam Jamil Alameen, H. Rap Brown would say. I asked you to leave some words of encouragement for the youth, because we're working with a number of different Black youth around the country right now. So if you can leave them something, anything, you know, that they could walk with. You know, back in the day, we used to say to the OGs, we'd say, when we say OGs, we're talking about original gorillas, the elders. We would say, man, give us something we can roll with. You know what I'm saying? Give us something we can walk with. So I'm going to ask you on behalf of the youth to give them something they can walk with. You know, we ain't in the hell in that basket. Let's go. What we got?
I tell my precious young brothers and sisters, never be surprised by evil or paralyzed by despair. That the greatness of the people that's been poured inside of you and the depths of the love that shaped and molded you makes you a freedom fighter till the end. Just keep your style with a smile and remember your grandmama's prayer.
Right on. Man, listen, man, I think we should call you Cornel Rap West. I'm about to talk to Man Jamil, be like, can Cornel use a little bit of your name for a minute? You know, he the original rapper, so you know what I'm saying. So we, you know, Lord. Yeah, you jazz rap over here.
We lost our dear brother from the last poet.
Yes. Man, I can't even think.
Kane.
Yes, Kane. Yes, definitely Kane. We actually, it's wild. I did the 55th anniversary of the last poets on this program here last year, and we had Abiodun, we had I can't even think of the other brother's name right now. My mind is kind of jammed, but we had a brother from the Watts Prophets as well, Amadei. Yeah, and we had Gene Carn came on. You know, it was a real solid program. So definitely shout out to the last poets. In fact, I'm supposed to be doing a tour situation, hosting with Abiodun and Felipe. I was about to say Luciano.
Oh yeah,
with, yeah, it is Felipe Luciano.
Just
right.
I did his show.
Yeah. I be mixing up with Jose Feliciano. So
yeah, I know.
I had to catch myself. Yeah. This water right got me happy. But anyway,
brother, it's always a joy to be with you, though, man. You just uplift my spirit and just give me tremendous inspiration, man. Really.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you're doing, and we're definitely seeing the whirlwind, brother.
Absolutely. As like Garvey say, I'm coming back in the whirlwind.
Without a doubt, without a doubt.
Love
Stay
you.
on point.
Love
you
as
well, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh.
You check. Yes. You're checking out RSTV. That was Dr. Cornel West. We're going to close it out with Wrath and Seattle Food. And y'all stay on point to the next show. Riot Starter TV, we out.
May appear a confusing blur of activity, each ant doing its own thing, but it can't be. Somehow the ants coordinate their actions so that large insects are overwhelmed, killed and carried back to the base.
Peers is dying and my people are suffering. The money's still low, you should see how they budgeting.
Watch what comes out your mouth.
People are suffering. It's elementary, they want us all gone eventually. Peers is dying, people are suffering. The money's still low, you should see how they budgeting. Peers is dying, and my people are suffering. Cause the money's still low, they want us all gone eventually.
I swear to God, living in this economy's like a robbery. The government taxing me when they owe me for my property. You niggas act like you happy to live in poverty. When I feel like a king, they gotta make these fools acknowledge me. I'm royalty and loyal to the feeling of it. The contrast make it look thuggish. We talk, walk, and look rugged naturally. Nothing sad to see, we all a part of this tragedy. I'm mad at you, so why you mad at me?
We headed for the times of the 9, watch out 6. Sun cycle on the rise, moon cycle out the mix. Living on this planet of the snakes and the crucifix. Pardon self as I unk my way through, marching with my A-boom boom, making my debut. Like great balls of fire, nothing could save you. In these replenishing times, I honor my dead, making my ancestors proud when it's off with your head.
Does my pencil possess potential to change mentals? Yes. Show what you pen in this pack with the essential less. What is essential to keep it as sharp as against you? Yes. What is essential to keep it like a temple? Blast, alter the temple, keeping the beat simple and fresh. While they whimper and rest, I'm intuition like the simplest gas. Into tradition, I'm on a mission until I transition to give the up and coming a better existence.
I seen a beggar scorn reaching for a coin or two. The older we get, it switches up the point of view. And they anointed you, leader of the free world. Desolate minds confined to the B-girl. The most benevolent is evident who I be. Graffiti on the wall, the crew, Drew Ali. Zoo to our key, shifting on the paradigm. Raise the vibration, then go prepare the mind.
Define magnificent red gem, dig deep. The omnipotent, all-seeing, I just peep. The game plan, I pray for niggas, amen. Fat Sharpie, spray can, I'm made man. The suede vans, no street skating, no beat taking. For Pete's sake, he's a beast quaking, the scene shaking. No mistaking, the ants conquer the elephants. FTP, RBG, the rest develop.
What's the ant's secret that makes them the most efficient predators on Earth, consuming more meat than lions, tigers, and wolves combined?
I'm way medicated, puff lying, lace sedated, and stay dedicated to culture that created the essence of the lessons now delivered in my presence. Kalonji called upon me, so now I pose the question: how is it that the blacks came in whips and chains, having nothing else to lose and everything to gain? Now niggas entertain for some whips and chains, a white dame and some fame. Is that shit not strange? Kinda hard holding down your dreams when you blacking in America with institutions set to bury you 6 feet underneath dirt for debt deep. Disciples psychological when making those ends meet and needs be. A hand feeds the other teases. Gather thoughts, grab the Gatling for good reason. In between success, devil's greed, a pine box of mind jogs elusive.
And why I come off and camouflage, can't take cloth. Eating lentils and vegetable broth, but I ain't never been soft. Leading the lost and forsaken by any cost. Bones aching, working hard, trying to bring home the turkey bacon. Breaking laws of gravity, fuck with the family and watch me savagely crush craniums and chest cavities to pray for the casualties. Cause my anatomy is naturally, casually composed. This is self-construction for the soul.
I'm black dynamite, I'll blast you with my nitros. Spit a dope piece with a gold piece in a booth with 5 disciples. We channeling boot mind, the revolution sparker. With 8 bars, cigar smoking some dark room on the altar. Watch the data work, Kamoja walk the stage without a hype man. Electric verses turn the great crowd into light rain. Flood psyches with an ill beat, some brain food that's got hot. Fly wisdom, call saucy, the enlightener, that's side rock.
2012 and times are different yet the same. Nowadays the number of prisoners behind the cage outnumber amounts of those enslaved during the trades. And shame we killing ourselves over what set you blame. Getting shot instead of hang. Nothing changed for the better except the cheddar of corporate profit to gain. The more money in pockets, the more people in chains. Unite niggas who bang, destroy their main aim.
It's all connected, form a web like an Anzi. It's the people, Siafu is the army. Start a top contender, oil plots a new agenda. They even breathe on the track, sucker empty for dinner. All that garbage I penning, this right here's the ending. Words to venom, getting them wrapped in Egyptian linen. Coming for head, this rapper, Kali will shake the rafters. Only thing standing after, walking natural disaster, rapture.